The Special Education Process, Part 2, part of the IDEA Accessibility Project, created by Advocates for Justice in Education and funded by the DC Developmental Disabilities Council. Once the initial evaluation is complete, the multidisciplinary team will use the results of the evaluations to see whether or not the child is eligible for special education services. To be eligible for special education and related services, a child must be between ages 3 and 22 and have a disability that adversely affects their ability to learn or make progress in school without specialized instruction. Children under the age of 3 who have a 25% delay in just one developmental area may be eligible for early intervention services. Disability classifications under the IDEA law include autism, deaf-blindness, deafness and hearing impairment, developmental delay, emotional disturbance, intellectual disabilities, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, visual impairment, traumatic brain injury, other health impairments such as ADHD, asthma, or sickle cell, specific learning disability, which includes dyslexia and processing deficits, and speech or language impairments. The multidisciplinary team must determine eligibility and disability classification based on the child's evaluations. Remember, parents are full and equal members of the team and have a meaningful opportunity to participate in the eligibility determination process for their child. In determining eligibility, the multidisciplinary team must draw upon information from a variety of sources, including aptitude and achievement tests, parent input, teacher recommendations, physical condition, social or cultural background, and adaptive behavior. As a parent, you have the right to challenge eligibility, classifications of the disability, and evaluations. If it is determined that a child has a disability and needs special education and related services, an Individualized Education Program, or IEP, must be developed for the child. Now let's explore the IEP. Within 30 days of determining that a child is eligible for special education and related services, the multidisciplinary team must meet to develop an IEP for the child. The IEP is a written document that outlines the objectives, measurable goals, specialized instruction, and related services for a child's unique needs. In developing the IEP team must consider the child's strengths, the concerns of the parent, results of the initial or most recent evaluation, and, as appropriate, the results of the child's performance on any district-wide assessment programs. The IEP will contain important information and procedures, including the child's present levels of educational performance, the special education and related services and supplementary aids to be provided, measurable annual goals including academic and non-academic goals, the projected date for the beginning of the services and modifications, the frequency, location, and duration of these services, how the child's progress toward the annual goals will be measured, and how the child's parents will be regularly informed about the child's progress. Parents must consent to the initial IEP before the services can begin. Step 6 is placement. Once the IEP team, including the parents, determines the special education and related services the child needs, the IEP team must determine the educational placement of the child. The child must be placed in the least restrictive environment, or LRE, that is appropriate for the student. which means, to the maximum extent appropriate, children with disabilities are educated with children who are non-disabled and are only removed from the regular education class if the nature or severity of the child's disability means that the child cannot reach their learning goals in the regular classroom. Special education can be delivered in a variety of settings, including in the regular education classroom with supplementary support and services as needed, in a separate special education classroom, a separate special education school, through home instruction, at a residential placement, and in hospitals and institutions. The child's placement must be as close as possible to the child's home, but it's important to know that every school in a public school agency does not need to have every program available. If the public school agency cannot provide a child with the services required by the child's IEP, a parent can seek to have the child placed into a private placement at public expense. Step 7. Annual Review. A child's IEP must be reviewed and placement determined at least once a year. The purpose of the annual review is to determine the child's progress, modify or develop a new IEP, and revisit the student's disability classification and placement level to make sure that the special education plan they have is working best for their educational goals and progress. Parents may request a review at any time during the year. Parents have a right to observe their children in their current or proposed special education classroom, or to designate a person to observe on their behalf. Step 8. Triennial Review. A child must be fully reevaluated every 3 years, unless the parents and the public school agency agree that a reevaluation is not necessary. The purpose of the triennial review is to confirm the child's disability, instruction, and related service needs. Parents may request reevaluations at any time during the 3-year period if there are concerns. However, a reevaluation may not occur more than once a year unless the parent and public school agency agree otherwise. For more information about the special education process, check out our other videos in the IDEA Accessibility Project series. You can find our information here. Email us, call us, visit our website, and keep watching this video series to learn more about your rights as a parent or caregiver of a child with a disability. The DC Developmental Disabilities Council is supported by the Administration for Community Living, ACL, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, as part of a financial assistance award totaling $527,570 with 100% funding by ACL HHS. Council efforts are those of the grantee and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL HHS or the U.S. government.